In 1974, America was paralyzed by an oil crisis, with gas lines wrapping around city blocks and drivers desperate for a miracle. Out of nowhere, a booming, charismatic entrepreneur named Liz Carmichael promised a revolution, a three-wheeled car called the Dale. She claimed it got 70 miles per gallon, cost only $2,000, and was so indestructible it could hit a brick wall at 50 miles per hour without a scratch. Investors went wild, and millions of dollars poured in. The world genuinely thought it was looking at the future of transportation, but it was all a brilliant, dangerous illusion. The sleek, futuristic prototype didn't even have a steering wheel. It used a hidden lawnmower motor just to coast across the stage. This is the shocking story of how a car that couldn't even drive fooled the entire world, and the secret FBI fugitive behind it all. To understand how this massive deception succeeded, you have to look at the sheer desperation gripping America in the early 1970s. In 1973, Arab oil-producing nations cut off petroleum exports to the United States, triggering the worst energy crisis in modern history. Overnight, gas prices quadrupled. Fuel was rationed, gas stations ran completely dry, and motorists waited in lines for hours, sometimes breaking out into violent fistfights over a single gallon. The massive, gas-guzzling V8 muscle cars that Detroit had been churning out for decades suddenly became useless, expensive liabilities. The American public felt utterly defeated, and the economy was on the brink of collapse. Enter Geraldine Elizabeth Carmichael. Landing in Los Angeles like a whirlwind of confidence, she claimed to be a brilliant marketer, a grieving widow, and a mother of 5 children. Liz Carmichael announced to a desperate public that she had founded the 20th Century Motor Car Corporation specifically to challenge the greedy automotive giants of Detroit. She famously boasted, "I'm going to rule the auto industry like a queen," promising to introduce a vehicle that would make traditional cars completely obsolete. To a nation facing endless gas lines and economic ruin, Carmichael didn't just feel like a successful business executive. She felt like a savior sent to rescue the American dream. People didn't just want to believe her, they needed to. The hype surrounding the Dale exploded almost overnight. Liz Carmichael set up a massive, glittering showroom in the heart of Los Angeles, plastering the city with futuristic marketing brochures. The car looked like something straight out of a science fiction movie. It was a sleek, aerodynamic, bright yellow 3-wheeled space capsule. Carmichael claimed the vehicle was made of Daleite, a top-secret rocket structural plastic resin developed for aerospace engineering. To prove its strength, she famously took a sledgehammer to the prototype on live television, showing that the hammer simply bounced off without leaving a single dent. She promised the public that if the car crashed into a brick wall at 50 miles per hour, the passengers would walk away without a scratch. But the genius of the scam wasn't just the design, it was the timing. Carmichael announced that production was starting immediately and that the car would hit the market at an unbelievable price of just $2,000. The media fell head over heels. Major newspapers ran front-page stories praising the vehicle as the savior of the American economy. The ultimate validation came when the Dale was featured as the grand showcase prize on America's most popular television game show, The Price is Right, beaming the 3-wheeled miracle straight into millions of living rooms across the country. Investors rushed forward, desperate for a piece of the future. Everyday citizens, seniors pouring in their life savings, and wealthy businessmen alike signed up for advanced dealerships and placed massive down payments just to get their names on the waiting list. Cash flowed into the 20th Century Motor Car Corporation in waves, totaling millions of dollars within months. Carmichael moved into a lavish mansion, hired a private security detail, and ran her corporate office like a high-powered tech empire. To the outside world, she was a visionary genius poised to bankrupt Ford and General Motors. Inside the factory, however, a very different and incredibly dangerous reality was beginning to unfold. The first cracks in the empire appeared when an investigative journalist named Dick Carlson got a tip from a disgruntled employee. Carlson decided to visit the ultra-secret development facility, expecting to see a state-of-the-art automotive assembly line. Instead, he found a glorified garage with a handful of workers using cheap fiberglass, Bondo, and duct tape to assemble what looked like hollow props. There were no advanced robotic arms, no rocket-grade resins, and absolutely no signs of mass production. When Carlson pressed the engineers to let him see the engine running, they refused, claiming the technology was too confidential. But Carlson didn't back down. He kept digging until he discovered a horrifying truth. The futuristic prototype that had just been featured on national television didn't even have a real car engine. To move it across the stage or roll it out for promotional photo shoots, the crew had hidden a tiny, noisy 12-horsepower Briggs & Stratton lawnmower motor inside the chassis. The vehicle couldn't reverse, it couldn't turn properly, and the steering wheel wasn't even connected to the axle. It was held together by a literal wooden block. Even worse, the car only had 3 wheels, not for aerodynamics, but because 3-wheeled vehicles were legally classified as motorcycles, allowing Carmichael to completely bypass the strict safety tests and crash regulations required for normal American cars. When Carlson aired his explosive investigative report on television, exposing the Dale as a complete phantom, the public was outraged. But as the police and the California Department of Corporations rushed to the headquarters to freeze the company's assets, they realized they were already too late. The offices were completely cleaned out, millions of dollars were missing, and Liz Carmichael had vanished into thin air. The disappearance of Liz Carmichael triggered a massive cross-country manhunt involving local police, state investigators, and the FBI. As federal agents raided her abandoned mansion and combed through corporate records, they uncovered a twist that left the entire nation speechless. Liz Carmichael was not a brilliant female tech executive from Indiana. Her real name was Jerry Barrett, a master counterfeiter and a highly dangerous fugitive who had been successfully running from the FBI for over 13 years. Barrett had a lengthy criminal record stretching back to the early 1960s, involving deep ties to underground counterfeiting rings and check fraud. The entire persona of a pioneering businesswoman was a meticulously crafted disguise designed to stay one step ahead of the law. But the law finally caught up. After a tip-off from a viewer who watched a televised crime documentary profile on the case, authorities located Barrett living under yet another assumed name in a small, remote Texas town, where she was running a humble roadside flower shop. The subsequent courtroom trial was one of the most chaotic spectacles in California legal history. Representing herself in front of a packed room of betrayed investors, Barrett put on a bizarre, defiant defense, claiming that the Dale was a genuine innovation sabotaged by the corporate greed of Detroit's auto giants. The jury didn't buy it. Barrett was convicted on multiple counts of grand theft, corporate fraud, and conspiracy. The millions of dollars stolen from eager investors had completely vanished, allegedly funneled into offshore bank accounts or spent keeping the elaborate fugitive lifestyle afloat. The legacy of the 20th Century Motor Car Corporation remains one of the most brilliant and bizarre chapters in automotive history. Today, only a couple of non-functional prototypes of the Dale car survive, sitting as dusty, forgotten relics in small automotive museums. They serve as a haunting physical reminder of a time when a nation's desperation was weaponized against them. Jerry Barrett, the mastermind who successfully fooled the entire world, proved a powerful psychological truth. In times of deep crisis, people do not just buy products, they buy hope. When the world is looking for a miracle, they will willingly blind themselves to the most obvious lies. If you were standing in those endless gas lines back in 1974, looking at a future of economic ruin, would you have handed over your life savings for a piece of the Dale? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more untold history mysteries.